Tragically, nearly 35% of Texans experience domestic violence from an intimate partner or parent. Now, more than ever, they need our support. Genesis provides safety, shelter, and support for women who have experienced domestic violence in the Dallas area. Thomas J. Henry is proud to team with Genesis to help create a societal shift on how people think about domestic violence. We refuse to accept a world where women don't feel safe in their own homes.
Pickle! Hit the air raid siren. It's time for Monday Morning Fallout. Monday Morning Fallout. Of course, when we overreact to the football weekend, it was week 9, and it was a week that we built up as being potentially legendary, so...
And it delivered.
So I guess we probably better overreact to it. Let's start with my 3 big thoughts. Thought number 1, believe the hype. We spent all of last week telling you how great week 9 of the Texas high school football season had a chance to be. That it had just a slew of games across the state with major statewide implications, major district implications, major rivalry implications, just a massive slate of games. And whenever we do that here, and especially like whenever we build up a game and we tell you, oh my gosh, this game's going to be great, I think that there's some pressure on us to... Well, because if that game's a dud, or if the week's a dud, then we look like real dummies.
Especially, because, I mean, we've hyped up weeks before. We haven't hyped up a week like this. This was like, we literally put all of our eggs into one basket.
I opened the picks thanking football Jesus.
Yeah.
So, like, it's got to live up to the hype. And thankfully, as it so often does, Texas high school football came through. It did. So
shout out football Jesus.
So I think there were, shout out football Jesus. I think there were, going into the game, I think there were 6 big, like, real showcase games. There were other ones. We'll talk about some of them over the course of the day and the course of the week. There were other ones, but I think there were 6 that were really standout. So I'm going to go game by game from, like, lived up to the hype the least to lived up to the hype the most. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Denton Guyer 49, Allen 7. We were at a game on Thursday night. We were at PSJA in Edinburgh North. Thanks to our friends at PSJA ISD for the hospitality. We'll have a lot more on our trip to the Valley tomorrow.
I got a lotte.
But we got home, and we this game was on ESPN 2, The Deuce. And we watched it on demand because the game was over by the time we got home. So we watched it on demand. And so we knew what had happened. Like, we knew the score. We were tracking it, but we weren't watching it because we were at a game. That was a demolition.
That was a butt whooping.
It was 14-0 at half, and you were like, okay, well, maybe Allen. Now Allen did have a key injury. Kevion Sibley, their starting running back, went out with what we fast forwarded through it because we saw the Twitter Twitter kind of blown up. They said it was kind of a gruesome injury, and I don't do gruesome injuries, so we kind of fast forwarded through it.
Yeah, that was an easy decision to just skip through that.
They had to cart him off late in the first half, which is terrible, and certainly we're wishing the best for him. But the Guyer defense was spectacular in this game, and then Jackson Arnold just cooked.
It was the Jackson Arnold show.
This was a demolition. It was Guyer hands Allen their worst loss in 25 years. 1997 was the last time they lost a game like this by 42 points. Bosco didn't do this, right? They've lost playoff games. Like, if you go back like to the 08 or so, Southwick Carroll whipped them in the playoffs, and not by 42 points. This was a demolition, and Guyer certainly looked the part of probably the favorite in 6A D2.
Yeah, and it almost looked like Guyer was playing a team that just wasn't even in their weight class. You know, like to say that crazy. Allen was not in their weight class is insane to say, but that's really what it looked like. There was never any sign of struggle from Guyer.
Alito 35, Denton Ryan 21, the other game at C.H. Collins Stadium. And this was a really good game, but it's 5th on this list. I thought that this was a real coming out party for the Alito defense. Ryan was at full strength. Ryan had Kalen Davis and Ryan had Khalib Hicks. They were at full strength. And I want to say it was 21-7 at half. 21-7 at half. And then Ryan pulls back and is able to pull even with them before Alito hits the Jets. Hoss Haney, their quarterback,
is a dude.
He's really grown up as a passer, and then he's got the secret weapon, which is he's a former wide receiver, so he's real fast. And like he had basically a dagger touchdown run at the end of the game that really put it away and made it 35, gave the final score of 35-21. He's a problem. He's
and then they've got two backs to back him up back there. The running capability of that team is insane.
They are able to keep it on the ground. The offensive line is, I thought, held up pretty well in this game, and so they run their district winning streak to 110. And Ryan's going to finish in third place in that district, and they're going to go on the road, maybe to Lake Belton in round one. Watch this space. Lake Belton. Someone else, maybe. I don't know. I'll have to look it up. Harlingen 37, San Benito 21. We'll talk more about it with Ishmael Johnson tomorrow. But the scene down there was insane, as we predicted it would be for the Battle of the Arroyo. And for Harlingen, I thought they set the tone with that first drive. Because their first drive, they march down the field and they score. And then I want to say the next drive was when Isaiah Bell broke off that 92-yard touchdown.
Yeah, that was
14-0.
Awesome.
At that point, San Benito, who had been spectacular defensively, has got to be looking around being like, what's going on?
No one's ever done this.
This game looked like it was going to be a blowout. San Benito roars back, takes the lead, 21-17, before Randy Morales and Isaiah Bell put a capper on it, and Harlingen pulls away. The Arroyo stays red for another year. They move to 8-0. They're almost certainly going to finish 10-0, and they're going to win the district. So what a win for Harlingen and Manny Gomez and company. Franklin 49, Lorena 35. Another game which was a real spectacular showcase. Lorena had stomach for the fight in this game. This game was tied 35 up, I want to say in the fourth quarter, and they were having their way offensively. They were able to move the ball, and their quarterback, whose name I have in my text messages, their quarterback was...
he was 9 for 9 in the first half.
Yeah, he was great.
9 for 9 and 3 touchdowns in the first half. I do know that. He's the baseball kid.
Brock Cool.
Yeah.
Brock Cool. He was excellent in this game. But the real headline here, and the reason that Franklin won, is because of Bryson Washington. Bryson Washington had 6 touchdowns in this game. And we talked about it on last week. I talked about it in the picks, is that the danger of playing Franklin is that they've got the 2 fastest guys in the class. I'm comfortable saying maybe there's some defensive back on another team, but like 2 of the fastest guys in the class. Bryson Washington. And so they are a running team, but they're a home run hitting running team. And so you have to play pretty much perfect defense for 48 minutes, or else every time they get a seam, they're faster than you. And that's what ended up being the difference here. Franklin gets a great win. Refugio 38, Shiner 27. This has to feel vindication. We're going to talk with Jason Herring here in a moment. This has to feel good for Refugio after kind of getting their pants pulled down last year. And they go and they kind of go back in the lab. They change their whole offense. They're now more of a grinding, pounding running game. Isaiah Bland.
Yeah, Bell is
Isaiah Bell. Isaiah Bland.
Yes.
For Refugio. Was excellent in this game.
We mentioned that. And like, when's the last time that a Shiner team has showed up and not had like the most prolific run attack? It happened.
That's the thing. I mean, they were able to run the ball really well. I watched a fair amount of the second half, streaming it on the Refugio Sports Network. Refugio is noticeably better up front this year. I also think Shiner is maybe not as good as they were up front, but that's damning with faint praise because it's like, I mean, they were incredible last year.
Well, and I believe that offensive line for Refugio is pretty young too. So they've made huge strides in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing for me is that they were able to contain, for the most part, Dalton Brooks. Contain. Now he got his, and he broke a couple, but he's going to do that every time.
But yeah, you can't go in trying to stop him. You just have to go in trying to slow him down.
I'll say this. I'm really excited about a rematch. I think a rematch is a coin flip game. Refugio got this one. I think Refugio, it would be a very slight favorite on a neutral site.
It's really hard to beat a good team twice.
Exactly right. And this is going to go, they're almost certainly going to go at it again, and it's going to be awesome. I think last year it became clear that China was a lot better than Refugio. Mm-hmm. This year I think they're very evenly matched, and Refugio made the plays in this one. Massive win for Refugio. But the banger of the night, China Spring 38, Stephenville 36.
Yep.
Stephenville's 23-game winning streak is snapped. China Spring...
And it ended on a game-winning field goal, correct?
Yes. So I watched after Refugio, Shiner became like it became apparent what was going to happen. I flipped over to Stephenville, China Spring. I was watching this game. China Spring had this game in hand. Mm-hmm. They picked off a pass with about a minute and a half left. Up 35-28. China Spring. I don't know what's going on the sideline. I'm not here to question play calling, but here comes some questioning of play calling. China Spring first down drops back to pass, and they complete a pass for like a loss, and I'm like, that's strange. Stephenville banks timeout, second down. I'm like, okay, that's strange. You're just trying to get them to kill these timeouts and try to get a first down. You run for first down, you win the game. Mm-hmm. They drop back on second down. Mm-hmm. Cash McCollum does. He throws it. He's flushed out to his right. He throws it, and it's picked by Stephenville. And I'm going, well, why'd you do that?
Yep. I think you even put in the Slack. You were like, what's happening?
So they go. Stephenville, next play, touchdown. Mm-hmm. Ryder Lambert throws a touchdown. Stephenville, smartly, in my opinion, decides to go for two, and they get it. Yep. And suddenly they're leading 36-35 with like 40 seconds left in a game they had won. Mm-hmm. In a game they had won with like 48 seconds left. But China Spring marches down the field. They get a penalty, but they get a couple of big-time throws from Cash McCollum. They get into field goal range, and Thomas Barr boots through a game-winning 42-yard field goal. They got a weapon at kicker in Thomas Barr. He boots through a game-winning 42-yard field goal as time expires, and China Spring snaps the 23-game winning streak for Stephenville. A remarkable game. I would, again, love to see this game played again. Mm-hmm. And it was bizarre, and I would say that I think both teams will say they probably didn't play their best. Mm-hmm. So I would love to see this run back, and we might get it. Anyway, fantastic game and a fantastic week of games. That's thought number one. Thought number two, it's time to talk about Jimbo.
Woof.
So I went on a date on Saturday night. Mm-hmm. You'll never guess with who?
My wife.
Went on a date. So I wasn't paying a ton of attention to the college football landscape at night. Mm-hmm. So I get home, I check my phone, and I see that South Carolina's beaten Texas A&M 30-24. And I go, what? So I go and I watch it back because I have to see what's going on in this one. And now, South Carolina is a better team than they have been.
Yes.
And I think that's important to say. And this was on the road. But this looked like a football team coming out of an open date that was entirely unprepared. Entirely unprepared. They were down 17-0 in the first 5 minutes. They give up the opening kickoff for a touchdown. Haynes King throws a pick that nearly gets taken back, and they hold for a field goal. And then they have a weird fumble with the new center that bounces into South Carolina's defender's hand. They're in the end zone 2 plays later. It's 17-0 in a blink on the road. This game was not a 30-24 game. This was a butt kicking. And there's now this like weird like counter pushback to people who are saying that Jimbo Fisher's offense has got to change and that Jimbo Fisher's offense is outdated, right? And people are saying, "Well, what do you mean? Like be specific." Okay, I'll be specific. According to PFF, which is not everything, but I think it's a good measurement of things, Haynes King is the 139th best quarterback in the FBS. 139th. And maybe you're thinking, well, that's just a Haynes King problem. Max Johnson is 118th. Okay? Quarterbacks in the FBS. That's where they rank in PFF. And if you're asking me schematically, but maybe you're saying, okay, well, that's just a them problem. That's just a player problem, a personnel problem. If they get the right quarterback in there, if they get Connor Wigman in there, things are going to change. Texas A&M has attempted 24 passes beyond 20 yards this year. 24. That ranks 11th out of the Texas FBS teams. 11th out of 12. 11th for deep shots. They do not stretch the field. They do not challenge safeties. Plain and simple. They don't challenge them on the seam with the tight end. They don't challenge them where they have 5-star tight ends. They don't challenge them on the wide receivers where they've got 5-star receivers. They don't challenge them. And by the way, they are not their offensive line is not good, but this is not an offensive line issue. If you look at their snap to throw, they're about middle of the pack. Mm-hmm. They're not getting this is not an issue of having time to throw. They've got time to throw. They just don't go deep. They don't. They don't take the top off the defense. They don't stretch them vertically. And so you're having to compact defenses, and they're having to deal with 11 people in the box fundamentally. That's the issue we're dealing with, if you want to get specific. So let me ask you a question, Ashley Pickle. Mm-hmm. I just want your opinion on this.
Okay.
The all-time college football record for a buyout is $22 million. $22 million, which was paid to Gus Malzahn by Auburn to go away. Mm-hmm. You got paid $22 million to leave.
That would be so cool.
Agreed. If Texas A&M... If Jimbo Fisher had a $22 million buyout, would he be the coach in 2023? This is year 5.
Yeah, I think he's gone. If it was just 22, and that's crazy to say, if it was just $22 million.
Because it's like 88.
But yeah, that's the thing. Like they signed their own death wish. Like I don't know.
I
don't know how you ever offer someone that much money for that extended amount of time and expect it to work.
They are out of options.
Yeah.
They have tied themselves to Jimbo Fisher. And I'm not saying he's a bad coach, but what I'm saying is you have no means of leverage to get him to adjust.
No.
He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
He's the king. He's got the guaranteed contract. Mm-hmm. What are you going to do? Fire him? Nobody's going to cut that check.
No.
Nobody's going to cut that check. They're 3-4. The last time they were below 500 was after the season opener in 2017 when they got beat by UCLA, if you remember that crazy comeback game. And by the way, what happened at the end of that season? Kevin Sumlin got fired. If you go back to a time when they were below 500, not counting 0-1, it's when they lost the Independence Bowl to Georgia in 2009 when they were still a member of the Big 12. I would say this is rock bottom, but they're probably going to lose to Ole Miss.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't see it getting any better at this point. But what are you gonna you offered him the money? That's on you.
There are uncomfortable conversations to be had about the future of the Texas A&M football program, and it's strange to say that considering all the trajectory that they had. But this has been a precipitous fall.
Well, and guess what?
They started the year number 6, Ashley.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're tied. You're tied to him, and you're about to have Oklahoma and Texas come into the SEC. That's what are you gonna do? Oklahoma's in a bad spot right now, but Texas is clearly better than A&M right at this exact moment.
Oh yeah,
and knowing that's coming up on the hill, like that's not fun.
I thought about that all weekend too. It's strange because I'm serious, if the contract, otherwise he'd be on the hot seat right now.
Oh, absolutely.
He'd be on at least the hot seat right now.
Yeah,
he can't be.
That would be one.
He doesn't have a seat.
Yeah, that would be one of those. They go and drop the next one to Ole Miss. You're wondering if he's making it in the season. Yeah, if he's getting tossed right after that.
You're talking about interims. You're talking about like DJ Durkin taking over. Anyway, and thought number 3, perfect 10. We're into the 10th week of the Texas high school football season. There's big games everywhere you look, and what I think is going to be fun is that you've got to start diving deeper into the districts. Last week, I think, was interesting because you had these headliners. You had these big-time games all across the state that were just like, I don't have to talk you into getting excited about Refugio and Shiner. I don't have to talk you into getting excited about Franklin and Lorena. This week, I think what's going to take center stage are these district races. Playoffs start for a lot of these teams this week, which is going to make Week 10 really fun. 3 helmet stickers. A helmet sticker for Brownsville St. Joseph wide receiver Claudio Torres. He had 13 catches for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns receiving. He ran for 20 yards. He also had 2 interceptions and returned 1 for a touchdown. UTSA quarterback Frank Harris They beat North Texas, and I think Mike Craven said it best. He was at the game. He said, UTSA had Frank Harris, and North Texas didn't. And that was the difference. He was nails down the stretch, where they had to go tit for tat with North Texas, and he came up aces. Helmet sticker for Frank Harris. And helmet sticker for Bovina running back and linebacker Darian De La Rosa. Don't talk a ton about Bovina, but how about this line? 31 carries, 276 yards, 2 touchdowns rushing. He had 11 tackles and returned a fumble for a touchdown as well. Helmet sticker for Bovina's Darian De La Rosa. 3 teams to watch. West. The Trojans go to Grandview and get a huge win over the Zebras and established themselves. They're going to win that district now because the rest of that district they're a lot better than the rest of that district. And they're going to be a threat. They're in 3A Division 1. I think that is a real statement win for the Trojans, for David Woodard's bunch, and I think they're going to be dangerous going forward. Angelo State. Hey, do you know Angelo State's 8-0?
Yeah, that's wild. How about that? Good for them.
This is your public service announcement that Angelo State is 8-0. Watch this space. And finally, Dripping Springs, a signature 6A win as they go and they beat Lake Travis in a thriller, and really the offense does what they need to, and the defense comes up with big stops down the stretch. This is going to be, Lake Travis is going to finish third in that district. Mm-hmm. And for Dripping Springs, this is a signature, I think, buoying win for them heading into the remainder of the season. 3 to C, it's a big week of high school football, as we mentioned. Galena Park, North Shore, and Atascocita. This is a really interesting test of where North Shore is, potentially post Caleb Bailey. Caleb Bailey still hasn't played. David Amador has been great, but they would prefer to have him at wide receiver and Caleb Bailey at quarterback. If they're still without Caleb Bailey, this is a real test of where the number 1 team in the state is going up against this Atascocita team, which is humming right now. Keep an eye on that one. Baylor and Texas Tech, it's the annual Butt Bowl. B-U-T-T. That's what I'm saying. Get it? I think both these teams are good. Do you know they have the exact same record? They're both 4-3. They're both 2-2 in conference. That's real opportunity. If Tech gets this one, especially at home, if they get this one, they're going bowling. This is a real pivot game, I think, for Tech. And they're humming right now. Barron Morton looked great.
Yeah, I think that Jones is sold out, too.
Yeah, but Baylor had a nice retrenching win this week, too. 2 teams that I think have gotten their wheels back on after some tough losses. Big game there. And finally, College Station and A&M Consolidated. Lost a little bit of sting this week because College Station lost to Georgetown, but this is the huge game in the Brazos Valley. Statewide implications there in 5A Division.
That's a really fun little district, too.
Oh, yeah.
It's stretched really far, but it's fun.
It's a strange district, but it's very, very interesting. That's a huge game there. That's 3 to C. That's Monday Morning Fallout.